What's going on, guys? This is Mike with the 1% Mindset Podcast. I hope you guys are doing absolutely amazing. Today we have a special guest, my brother from another, my big bro, Koran Bolden. How are you doing, my man?
Man, I'm doing amazing, bro. What's up? I get to be on the podcast. This is the second time,
Yeah,
right?
two times. The first time just didn't do it justice, man. The second time, obviously, I have, it's a bigger following. More precise, more solid. So I'm extremely excited, especially the transition. When we spoke the first time, you were in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You're living in Phoenix, and now you kind of went back to your roots in St. Louis. So I kind of want to let's start there. Right, for those who listen to the first podcast, I kind of did a little intro, but let's go to like what transitioned you back from Phoenix back to your hometown of St. Louis.
Yeah. So basically the pandemic. The pandemic was something that man, I think nobody was ready for. It was the curveball. But like you said, with this 1% mindset, you got to be able to understand how to pivot. And I knew that St. Louis was a place that I had originally built my fan base and my support group. And one of the things that you got to understand is that whenever trouble and trauma is there or turmoil is there, sometimes it's good to push up the weight on your own, but it's nothing like going to a gym and having somebody spot you. So you can push up that heavy weight and you can be as strong as you want, but I don't think there's any person in the gym that's pushing up really heavy weight that doesn't have a person to spot them just in case when they get weak. It's like, yeah, I know I could do this maybe yesterday or the day before, but maybe today my mind's not right. Maybe today my energy levels aren't right. And so that spotter is somebody that just literally helps you pull that weight up and get to the next level. And so I felt like St. Louis, which is my hometown, is one of those places that would actually help me as we went through the pandemic. And so that's why I'm here. And great things have been happening since I've been here. It's been amazing.
So you mentioned the pandemic. So what did the pandemic really do for you? I guess whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically, like how did that really affect you? Because I know a lot of people don't talk about it, or they may talk about the good stuff. Like I was able to reset, and like what did it do for you specifically?
It showed me who I was. It didn't. I mean, I think it helped everyone reset, but some people reset and never got back started over again, like they still lost, you know what I mean? And so I think reset is good only if it just gave you the time to be able to put structure and some legs around what you already wanted to do in the first place. But just to reset just for the start of resetting is a foolish mistake that I would think. I remember a wise man once said, never miss a recession. Never miss a recession. And today we have the first pandemic. So I would say never miss a pandemic. You know why? Because during a pandemic, when I first launched my first company, I remember one of my managers used to say, one of my rap managers from back in the day when I had a record deal, he said that all the greatest leaders and millionaires are birthed forth out of the recession, because you have to have little, nobody's spending, the economy's bad, and you have little and you have to be creative. And so I'm a very creative individual. And so it made me think twice, because like I didn't have the marketing budget. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the connections. And so you got to really tap into another energy in your mind and your body and your soul to be able to make this happen, figure it out. And so if you can make it happen with little, when the economy comes back together, guess what you could do with a lot? And that's what I knew it. I knew it. Once the pandemic happened, I knew we would go through a rough time. I was scared just as much as anyone else, but I knew that if I continuously go through this moment and have my spotter there, my people, my support group around me, I knew I would make it through flying colors. And so, we made a few bold moves, I would say, during the pandemic. So I'm looking forward, man, to really continuously move forward. And as we get through this thing, I'm looking forward to launching out even further.
Awesome. So you mentioned bold moves. So I definitely want to give you an opportunity to speak a little bit about bold moves in your agency, and just some of the projects you've worked on. Specifically, I definitely want to talk about your basically what you did to help the first Black mayor in St. Louis, Mr. Shar Jones. And I know you spearheaded a lot of that. You've raised money with I believe it's Annie Malone
Yep. Annie Malone. Yep.
So there was a lot of stuff that you did there. We can talk about them individually, but let's go through like that actual agency and some of those projects that you worked on, and how you were able to do it.
Okay, so the first thing is that when bold moves. First of all, let me take it back. I'm gonna take it back. and this is for somebody that's listening right now that may be doubting yourself. So I was having this lunch meeting with somebody, and it was a good friend of mine, and she said, "You know what, Koran? I have the perfect name for your organization and a new app that you're coming out with." This was maybe about 7 years ago, and I'm like, "What's the name of it?" I had this entrepreneurship app that I came out with years ago. I was working on it with Wells Fargo. Well, anyway, she's like, "I got the perfect name." She was like, "Bold Moves," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like we were in a vibe and had an energy. Of course, my last name is Bolden, so Bold Moves. It was just like no brainer. So I took the name to a mentor of mine. He makes X amount of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars a year. And I told him, I said, "I got the perfect name for my app. What do you think?" And he said, "What's the name?" I said, "Bold Moves." He said, "I hate that name. That's a horrible name. It's not going to work." And what a way to crush my dreams. Right? So since he made more money than me, I listened to him. Now, of course, I've made the app the Koran Bolden app, which is fine. But from a branding and marketing point of view, there's no way that people can support Koran Bolden. You're not going to walk around with a Koran Bolden shirt unless you're in maybe this is a clothing line or whatever. But you can't really, nobody wants to rock your name. They want to be a part of a group. And so I thought Bold Moves could have been a cool thing, but he said no, and I didn't do it. Well, years later, once the pandemic happened, I ended up calling my company Bold Moves, and it took off like this. I mean, literally, like within a month's time, when I'm walking around, people are like, "Mr. Bold Moves, baby." Like, so the first thing that I want to say here is this: is that whenever you get an energy on you, trust that energy. Don't ask for opinions. It's not for them to. It's not even to be disputed. Because all you're going to do is if you ask for somebody's opinion, you're going to get a 50-50 chance to somebody to tell you that it's not going to work. Why would you put an intuition, an energy in front of people just for them to tell you possibly that it won't work? Why would you do that? Like, if you felt it in your heart, you felt it in your mind, go ahead and move forward with it. And so I'm a little late on the name, but at the end of the day, called it Bold Moves. And so we've been doing things like working on campaigns. Of course, with Tashara Jones, who's the first African-American female mayor of the city of St. Louis. And we raised almost close to $100,000 with our African-American parade. That's one of the biggest African-American parades in the country. It's actually number 3 longest running. We raised $100,000 up until today's date, close to $100,000. $75,000 of that was done in 5 days from a campaign. They just called us and said, "Hey, please help us, Koran." And I pulled a team of influencers together. And in 5 days, we just used social media. Once again, creativity, not having the big budgets, not having the big lights and cameras. And we put together a campaign very quick and helped the organization that was failing raise almost close to $100,000 to today's date. So we definitely making bold moves for sure.
Yo, I love that. I love that. And I want to go and I want to start. I think the Eddie Malone thing was phenomenal. I want to start with Mr. Shar Jones. So how did you end up connecting with that? And what was some of, I guess, the strategy? What did you guys do to kind of help influence and push that campaign forward?
Yeah. So one of the things that helped with the Tashara Jones campaign was just she already had love in the city. She was of course originally our treasurer. She also has a background in health, and so it wasn't really necessarily a hard sell. She had already been doing the work. Before I even met her years ago, she lost by 888 votes, and so she had ran last time, and there was all these different people that got into the race, of course, and she lost by 888 votes. And so this particular time, we just decided to stand behind her and make a bold move and create history. And so I was helping out with the campaign. I actually went and knocked on doors, which is a really cool thing. Like I went out and knocked on doors. Man, campaigning is something different. So I learned a lot of what it means to actually have boots on the ground, to actually go up and knock on somebody's door, and you got to sell to them. Which is something that I have never done before. I'm normally doing like social media stuff and speaking engagements, but I never really got a chance to really like knock on doors. Like, you know, me being a black man going in the hood and I'm just knocking on doors like, hey, like, what do you want? But actually people were very, very willing to open their doors and listen to what people had to say. And so I volunteered on that and helped out, and she won, and she's a mayor, and I'm very, very proud of her. She's amazing.
Yeah, no, an amazing. You call yourself or the city, I guess. Mr. STL Obama. So I definitely. So it's amazing to see all the amazing work that you do in St. Louis, giving back to St. Louis, knowing just being a part of that, the influencers. I think that's huge. Like the love for your city definitely shows up there, right? Like you can feel that energy, so much so that currently you live in a high-rise apartment that overlooks the St. Louis Cardinals stadium, right? Like what was that like, coming from where you came from, right? And we'll get into that a little bit, to like where you are now. Like what do you feel when you actually, and I don't know if you actually thought about that or even like just projected, like what is that feeling like?
Whoo, man, I told you at the beginning of this podcast is that my mentor said never miss a recession.
Mm-hmm.
My mentor told me to never miss a recession, and he was right, because when this came, I literally lost everything. I'm a motivational speaker. 95% of my income comes from speaking, motivational speaking. Well, pandemics had come. Every last one of my speaking engagements got canceled. I think I had about 200 dates set up. Literally, I lost everything. Everything was gone in a matter of seconds. Everything was gone. I at least thought that I can make a certain amount of money in my sleep. I've done over 900 speeches to over 500,000 people. Like, even if I don't call anybody, I don't do any marketing, any promotion, my referrals would at least cost me for the rest of my entire life. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it showed me that is not true. Never think that you just got it all in the bag. I lost everything. But I remember last time that I went through something, I opened up my first business in the housing recession and crash back in 2008, 2009. I made it through that. I'll make it through it again. And so once again, I lost everything that I had. Literally, I could tell you a much deeper story, but I'll say that for another day. I literally lost everything, but now I rebuilt my life. Of course, I stay in the high-rise building downtown, and I also have an office space right next door. It's down in an area that's in the heart of downtown with the Cardinals and all that. And so we've been doing a great work together. I've been talking with the owner of the Cardinals, and we're working on some things too as well. And man, it's just really beautiful to be able to know that no matter what happens, you literally can build your faith up so high that nobody can bring you down. And you might feel like you're down, but really you're only going down just to gas up to go back up. Like, you're never down unless you believe that you're down. And I needed that rest, of course, but now I'm charged up. I'm energized, and I'm ready to make bold moves. So it's been an amazing year. It's definitely been challenging. I'm not going to make it seem easy, but it definitely has been a challenging thing. But I'm pumped up, man. I'm ready for it. Ready for it.
That's so. With the challenge, I saw you post a few things. You spoke about going to therapy, completing therapy, and even normalizing Black men go to therapy. So obviously that means you've been going to therapy. What has that experience been like, for you? How has it helped? And you pushing it and normalizing it?
Man, therapy, first of all, I'm gonna take a pause really quick. Therapy has been a stigma in our community, particularly when it comes to the African-American community, and really particularly when it comes to African-American men. We don't go to therapy. One of those reasons is because when you're growing up as an African-American man, if you cry, if you show emotion, if you talk or express yourself, you're considered weak. That's literally taking away your manhood, right? So we grow up believing that if we ask for help, if we say we're weak, if we feel like we're drowning, that you're weak. Not so. As a matter of fact, you're weak when you try to put up a persona like everybody's doing on social media right now. They're acting like they got it all together. But we all need help. We all need help. And if you keep trying to act like you got it all together, guess what happens? Nobody will give you help. when you ask for it. Or, well, I shouldn't say even when you ask for it. Nobody will even ask you, do you need help? And so a few months ago, I came back. I was working on a project with the mental health board. And I was going to some of their meetings and found out through those meetings that I was traumatized. I knew I was traumatized from losing my brother to gun violence at the early age of 8. But I thought I was okay because everything around me was success. I got the house, I got the cars, I got the fan base, I got the social media stuff. If I push a button online, everybody's like, congratulations, congratulations. So I think I'm all okay. And I found out through a presentation one day with the mental health board, there's this called the System of Care project that they have, along with Vision for Children at Risk. They had a conference that I spoke at, virtual conference, and I listened to the other speakers that were online, and I found out that I was traumatized way beyond what I could think or imagine. And so I took a bold move and went to therapy. And that's what Bold Moves is all about. It's not about being perfect. It's not about hitting a home run. It's about having the strength and the courage enough to try to even attempt to hit a home run, and you know that your arm or your leg is broke, right? Like, who would even attempt to do? Anybody could think to knock it out the park when everything's all good, but when everything's all bad, can you still step up to the plate with the mindset and the mentality to know that even because you're a broken crayon, that you know you can still color? And that's really what it comes down to. And I went to therapy last week. I finished or completed my 12th week. I give myself a round of applause.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Every time I tell people the number of the session that I went, I always clap. I mean, literally, I could be in Walgreens, somebody say, how's therapy going? I'll be like, hey, yeah, well, I just finished my 12th therapy session. Round of applause. They're like, then the reason that I do that is because I'm going to clap, and because that is one of the hardest things that you can do is go to therapy. And so I'm excited that I went to therapy. It's working. So black man, please, black man, young black boy, please consider therapy, because it is one of the greatest things that you could ever do in your life. It is going to unlock you to places of potential and unlock that potential so that you can live your God-given purpose, your God-given destiny every single day of your life. It will literally take that baggage and those weights that you've been holding on, it will cut it away out of your life. And so please, yes, you can be strong, but if you got these weights on you, how are you going to be able to fly to the next level? You can be as strong and as talented, but there's going to be a limit. But when you get those weights cut off you, you could just literally go to the next level of places that you didn't even know that you could reach.
So I want to ask you, because I think this is important. I think the first, you said when you went to the session, you realized you were traumatized, right? And like, what did that look like? And the reason why I asked this is because someone mentioned therapy to me. Somebody mentioned therapy to me. Sorry, I got all these.
Hey, listen. Hey, Mike. We understand you got the new office space, bro. You got the people working. You got the contractors working and building out your $1 million estate. We get it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But this is how you know. Hey, this is raw, authentic. Things happen.
Keep it going, bro. We love the process, bro. We love the process to see you. As a matter of fact, congratulations with everything you got going on, bro. I've seen you start like from the beginning, and to see you got your office space over where you at with the contractors in the background is super dope. I actually like the contractor noise in the background, because it's like we getting a chance to document a time where you leveling up, man. And these are the parts that keeps us leveled up, to show people like, yo, I had office space. I still got my grind in. So, man, congratulations to you, Mike, man. You're a real stand-up guy, for real.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you making me look good with all the noise in the background. So thank you. But no, I think it's funny. I had a friend, she asked me a question. She mentioned therapy to me, right? And I guess I am a part of this stigma of Black men, which I need to, kind of look at. But, one of the things I said to her was, nothing's wrong, right? Like, I think things happen, stuff happens all the time with people, not with, with humans, right? And, what makes or breaks you, how do you get through it? How do you go, get over it? And one of the things she said to me was, it does, just because something's happening or going to therapy doesn't mean something is wrong, right? That's what she said to me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Because again, we all have our traumas, our things that happen. And I think the feeling that I have personally, and I don't know if you felt like this for a little bit, was, hey, I'm going there because something is wrong with me. Right. And for me, I never felt like anything was wrong. I had situations, I had circumstances, I had stuff that happened, but nothing was actually wrong with me. Right. It was just situations, circumstances. Was that something that like you felt like, how did you overcome that? Because again, I still have a resistance. Not that I don't want to go, I'm not open to going, but I couldn't like it's hard for me to say like, oh, this and this is happening and this is going on. It's because of this and this that, like, and it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, stuff happens. What are you going to do about it? So I guess, what is that advice, whether it's for me or anybody else who's going through that?
I mean, to be honest, some of the most wealthiest men that I know that's around me, like when I came down to my new office space, it's a co-working space, so there's other people that's in the building, and we network. And when I talk to them one-on-one, they talk about, and of course, there are other ethnic backgrounds, of course, they talk about therapy like it's nothing. They got millions of dollars. Other millionaires and billionaires that I know, personally know, they're going to therapy. They don't look at it like that. They don't even have the conversations of, it's all stigma, right? So there's a stigma that's out there that tells us that something's wrong. But in other cultures, that's not even a conversation that comes up. And that's why it's important for us to be able to understand what stigma is. It's a false narrative that's put out there to prevent certain people from moving towards their destiny. Everyone has a therapist. Now, you might have a therapist that's not a professional therapist, and that could be, for most of us, it's our barber or our beautician. That's the black therapist, your barber. Hey man, I'm going through something at home while he's cutting your hair, but he's not licensed. He didn't go to school for that. And although he may give you good advice, he doesn't know how to be able to help you with the emotional traumas and some of the stuff you won't even share with him because it's a guy on guy. Like, I'm not going to tell you everything that's going on in my life. But when you get a professional that does not know you, and also they're not biased, because your barber's going to agree with you pretty much on everything, because of the bonding relationship. When you have a non-biased person coming into your life giving you advice, it just changes the dynamics of really being able to help you with your blind spots. And that's what I look at therapy is. It's a person that's coming in to tell you about, you tell them what's going on, and then each session that goes on, they find those blind spots that they have for you. And in certain like 18-wheelers and certain trucks, there's a mirror and then there's an extra mirror. Like, you ever seen the mirror and then it has a smaller mirror? That smaller mirror is to be able to show you your blind spots. And that's all that a therapist is doing is. So what's happening, especially in the world of business, I'm getting excited talking about it, especially in the world of business, as an African-American business owner, I'm driving a big truck and it looks good. Social media, yay, look at me, but I only have one mirror. What happens is that there's blind spots. And I know some people have experienced this where you literally you look over this way and you look over to the next way, and you look, and it looks like the coast is clear. But if they're right beside you in a certain area, the blind spot, you try to get over, you'll crash. The mirror didn't even show that to you. So what happens is you put an additional mirror on, the little smaller one, and that prevents you from running into the next person. Of course, the new age cars, I know this video will be out there forever and you'll be like, mirrors on what? But the new age cars even show you on the beep, 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 beep if you're about to crash next to somebody. And that's all that a therapist does. It prevents you from having to get into an accident and filing an insurance claim, which ultimately slows you down because you're now got to get to your speaking engagements or get to your business without a car to travel in. So that is all a therapist does. The second thing I want to say about therapy is that it's not all, when we think about therapists, we think about like crying and like, oh my gosh, and you're crying in every session. That is not every session. It's not. Half the time I'll probably say 80% of the time, we're not even talking about my past. We're talking about the now. That's like the first couple of sessions. We're talking about the now, and we're also talking more about the future, communication styles, making sure that your tonality and your voice matches the body language, that matches what you're trying to convey in your head, because a lot of the turmoil and the conflicts that we have is because maybe you sitting like this and you're talking to somebody, and even though this could be like considered to me like I'm just chilling and relaxing, if I'm talking to you like this on here right now, you could look at this like I'm arrogant or I don't want to be here. But if you're not aware of that communication, even though I'm saying powerful things like, hey, you could be anything that you want to be in life, you could dream big, keep doing your thing, just by me sitting down like this makes it look like I'm not involved in it. I'm using the same tonality out of my voice. I'm talking out of my voice. But just because I'm sitting down right now, there's distortion right now. Yeah. I'm talking the same language right now that I've been talking on this entire time. But since I'm sitting back like this right now, it makes it look like I'm arrogant. It makes it look like I don't want to talk to you. It makes it look like I know it all and I'm close. But if I sit up like this and I say, hey, listen, you could be anything you want to be in life. Like, trust me, you can do it. I believe in you. See, I didn't change my voice at all. My body language, everything has to be congruent. And so she taught me about that. How when you talk to certain people, it can come off as threatening. Like me moving my hands like this to some people could be threatening. So she showed me how to sit up straight and sit and talk and be assertive. That's what she called it. Yeah, assertive.
Yeah. Now that's interesting because I actually speak a lot. I speak like when I speak, I use my hands all the time. And, you know, I never thought about it because, yeah, you're right. It can be, you know, threatening to some or, you know, whatever that looks like. So that's interesting. Right. And I think I do think there is definitely a stigma. So with you going to therapy, vocalizing it, you know, whether social media, whatever it looks like, I'm sure you've gotten messages or people reaching out to you, maybe inspiring people to go themselves. Like, what has that looked like, especially since you're trying to normalize it, especially for, you know, Black men?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, without saying anybody's name, because I'm big on privacy. I'm a private person. A lot of people that you wouldn't even believe are inboxing me. Some of the people that's posting online, getting all these likes and shares and getting people to come to their events, they're in my inbox like, hey, brother, I need that number. Mm-hmm. And so what that let me know is that we've all been hurting. Who's going to stand up and say that they've been hurting as well? And let's get rid of this stigma that can help us get to the next level like the millionaires and billionaires are doing. They're going. They don't have a second guess. There's not even a doubt. They're going every week. We need to get rid of the stigma that's associated so people can stop suffering in silence. There's times where you might feel depressed and you might not know that you're depressed, but I knew it was time for me to go, and I'm open to be able to talk about it. And it doesn't take anything away from me. You know, I got everything that you can think of: the house, the car, the resume, the career, the achievements, the accomplishments. And if I can be depressed, or I can have anxiety, or I can feel down or feel lonely or sad, anybody, it does not discriminate. Mental health does not discriminate against anybody. So make sure you're going to get your checkup from the neck up, because if you can get your mind, the body will follow.
I love that. All right, let's transition slightly. I think that's one of the things I saw, and I'm going to go back to this really brief, just because I think this is important. I saw, I guess it was earlier in the year, or maybe it was last year, whenever the mayoral race was, you brought your daughter to see. What was that? I think that's amazing that you're able to do that. But what was that experience like for her, for you, being able to witness Mr. Shar Jones, like, being not inducted? I don't even know the terminology right now. Yeah. But, you know, becoming the mayor, right? Like, so what was that experience like?
That experience was amazing for me because my daughter, she's 11 now, but she was 10 years old. And so she had the inaugural ball, or should I say the inaugural induction. She was getting, I don't know the name of it either, but I'm trying to figure out a name. It's like the mayor name. I'm trying to figure out what. Whoa! It was literally like man, I had never seen nothing like it. It was really nice. So I want to make sure I use the right word, but definitely. At the inauguration, everybody's trying to get these tickets to get in. So it's invite only. So everybody's trying to get the tickets to get in, and everybody's bringing, you know, their friends, their family. They're trying to get everybody in. Of course, myself, I had a few spots that I could, you know. Of course, you know, Mr. STL Obama, of course. I had to pull my STL Obama move real quick. So she I was like, hey, yo, TJ. I call it TJ. That's yeah. So I like TJ. Hey, yo, can I let me get in. Let me text him. Let me get in. And so she was like, okay, so who's on your list? And I thought about it, man. And there's so many great people that have done a lot of great things for me.
Of course.
And then I really thought about what I really wanted to do. This was a moment. It was history. You can't get it back. This is a moment you can never, ever get back. The first Black woman, female mayor of the city of St. Louis. Can never get this moment back. So I thought about everybody I could bring. But one of those names that I brought was Kaylee. It's my daughter. And I brought her there. She was the only Black girl there, young Black girl there. Everyone else was all adults. I'm talking like every person you can think of, politician, was in the room. And then there's my young daughter. And my young daughter met some of the most prestigious, most profound and prolific leaders that built this city to be what it was or is today. And they spoke so much life over her. Like, wow, you're in here. Like, wow. So she came to the inauguration. She brought these little Chuck sneakers because Tashara wears Chucks to work. She wears these red Chucks. And so she brought the shoes. Tashara's like, Kaylee. And she didn't know that the mayor would know her name, but she knows her name. And she gave her a signature. And she was the first young girl also in the mayor's office too, as well. So she took her back to the mayor's office, and even to today's date, it was such an impression. She still talks about Tashara. She comes and, hey, I want to be like Tashara, or I'm going to start up a TV show and I'm going to be famous like Tashara, or I'm going to write a book about when I become mayor like Tashara. Like, it really had a big impact on a young African-American girl that goes to a school that's predominantly white. So I think she's like actually one of the only Black girls that go to her school. So to be able to see a woman rise up to the position to be the number one leader of the city, I wanted to be able to show her that if she can do it, if Tashara can do it, so can she. And it was a great moment indeed.
Man, that's amazing. Great experience for her. Great experience for anyone, but especially for your daughter, man. So definitely, I want to, congratulate you for just even doing that and, having her experience such a thing. And, I mean, maybe at 10, it clicks in, but definitely as she gets older, it's really going to be like, wow, what an experience that I was able to have. So, I definitely want to salute you for that as well. So that's, so I want to transition over. Now you're getting back into like the speaking, your bread and butter, what you were called to do. For those who don't know, because you are the world's greatest youth speaker, how did you get into that space, and what is it like now post COVID speaking?
It's a little different. I did, you go from doing 200 speaking engagements a year to doing either virtual to none. So that was really hard for me, particularly because I knew that, I speak in a lot of underserved communities, and I know that people just think that people go to school for education. Actually, school is a safe house for a lot of youth that are out there. In one particular school district, which I won't say their name, I know that there's over 5,000 students that are considered or deemed as homeless.
Wow.
That's just one school district in the city of St. Louis. And that's a real number that I know of. So that means that you're not living in a stable home. You're either living with a cousin or auntie, or you're switching houses. They can't really get in contact with you or whatever. And that's a problem, And so sometimes when I've also even heard from the studies that are out there that some kids, the only meal that they eat is at school. The only positivity that they see is at school. Some of these kids are even taking care of the entire household, growing up way too fast because it's a single parent household and their mom has to work 2 jobs. So if you think about that and what family is meant to be, that really hurt me. And it hurt a lot of it hurt a lot of counselors, it hurt a lot of teachers, superintendents. We really were really hurting because we knew that some students, the best part of their day is coming to school. And so that really hurt me a lot. It hurt a lot of people that were administrators, faculty, So I was eager to get back. So yesterday I actually had my first speaking engagement in person in a long time. Over
Nice.
700 students at Grand Center Arts Academy. Shouts out to Grand Center Arts Academy. Got on stage, they social distance every student. They wore the mask in the audience, every other seat inside their theater. And we got up there and we just had fun. And the students, if you could just see the looks on their faces, man, they were just so glad to be pushed in a direction that would start their school year off right. And so things are kind of picking up a little bit. The virtual stuff is okay. I've been doing the virtual stuff. But the speaking industry is just kind of still in a little bit of the turmoil. We don't really know. I mean, COVID is happening. Some people are taking risks, some people aren't. But I just wanted it to all really kind of be over with. And I'm going to be doing a lot more virtual stuff. We're working on brand new office spaces that we can put, 100 different schools on one presentation at one time. Mm-hmm. So we definitely have to be aware of technology and use technology because we don't know where this thing is going to go. But my prayer is, and my hope is that we can reach these kids, even if it's through their cell phones or whether it's in person, that the message of hope and overcoming traumatizing experiences from their past is pushed forward because these kids need us now more than ever. And I believe that this generation is rising up right now. The challenges that they're facing, they will have a resistance or a resilience when this is over with that no generation in the world has ever experienced. That's what's my personal belief is. If you mix a group of people that have went through the worst and then you get them back into a good space and you have technology, when this is over with, this will be one of the greatest generations, the smartest, most innovative generations you'll ever see in mankind, in my opinion.
What's I guess next on the agenda? So you have your Bold Moves agency. You've done a lot of stuff with just different organizations, the mayor, different corporate events. You're speaking, you're selling books. What's outside of all that is what's next on the agenda? You're lively now, you're pumped up, you're excited, which is great. Offline I spoke about, like, I felt that energy, right? It felt a lot different. And I know you took some time off away from social media, you kind of came back. So what do you have on the horizon?
Man, really, to be honest, I have 3 different businesses right now. I used to have them all in one. Any entrepreneurs out there that do wear multiple hats, I know what you're going through because I went through it. I don't like it when you know what you want to do, but you're all over the place. So one good thing that happened with the pandemic is that I had to understand that all the stuff that I'm doing, even though it's all together, there are 3 different entities. So I have Koran Bolden, the motivational speaker, the showman, the demonstrator, the advocate, the person that's on fire, and that's me. A demonstration, a live presentation, or a live demonstration of me, myself, my brand, my mission. All right. Then we have the virtual side of me, which is I was doing a lot of coaching and development. Unfortunately, I don't really want to focus on one-on-ones because it just takes up too much of my time. You have to sift through a lot of people who's real and who's not, and who's gonna put up the work and who's not. Really don't have time to do that anymore. And I understand that people are on their phones right now, and so if you really want that information on growing your brand as a speaker, as an author, as an influencer, or as an agency, we can help you do that at the bare minimum cost through our online courses, which we're about to get ready to launch. And then our third thing is the agency. And that's where the Bold Moves agency is a social media marketing and community outreach agency where we're like the work in action, where we do it for you. So there's me, there is the virtual stuff, do it yourself, look at it as much as you want to, learn at your own pace, but you do the work yourself. Or if you say, Karan, I don't got time to do any of this stuff, can you just take your brand, your influence, and your platform and go do it for me and just connect my name into it? More like sponsorships, endorsement deal type of thing, build my brand for me. That's the agency. And so now, as you can see, I'm much more clear than any of my other presentations or anything that's online now. I know that these are the 3 areas that I really want to focus on. And so now, lastly, to go directly to the question, is that I'm trying to build a team. Like, you can't do anything alone. I have 3 different entities, 3 different companies, and now I'm getting ready to I'm actually getting in the process of hiring a staff and taking the company that we have and taking it global all across, having offices all across the country. So that's the next big bold move that we're doing. I'm not into just, giving these great wild presentations. I want to start making something that sticks, that lives long, 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 long after I'm dead and gone. I want to be able to say, hey, here's an organization that's working, that helps kids, families, and the communities that they're living in to sustain even when I'm not around. Like, that's all I'm focusing on. Anything outside of that, which is what therapy did for me too. The last thing I say is that the therapy taught me boundaries. If you're not within those 3 buckets, there's nothing for us to talk about. We can pass and talk, hee hee ha ha. We can do all those things, but to be honest, I know where I'm focused to do. Like, I'm reading this book called The Power of Focus right now, and the more focus that you have, the more the greater the impact and intensity. So if you're not in those 3 areas, no matter how much money it is, you cannot get me to deviate or go away from the 3 different buckets or tiers that's leading me to one destination, which is ultimately my purpose of leaving this earth better than what I found it.
How did you stumble upon that? And the reason why I asked, and again, this is great conversation, especially for me, because I'm learning so much. In that same space, right? You talked about your 3 entities. So, for example, for me with the 1% mindset, right? A lot of similar missions, right? I've spoken at schools, I've run youth programs. I also have this clothing line that I launched around the 1% mindset called like the 1pm.clothing, where I have like this shirt that I have, it says mentally fit, which I get a lot of compliments on, which is great. But then I've also done like websites and stuff for people. And I realize how much I hate doing websites now. How did you stumble upon? But again, the websites, what it did for me at the time was it was great for me because it provided me a good, ROI, right? But now I'm like, I don't want to do it, even though the money can be good and I have a team. It's like, do I want to deal with that, right? And so now it's been like, what is it that I absolutely love to do, that I want to do, that fulfills my purpose in a way that, if I never got paid, I am comfortable. Right. How did you end up, again, being an entrepreneur, wearing all of these hats, doing all of these things, even, understanding these boundaries? Did it take, and I know therapy helped, did it take time to figure out, hey, I just want to focus on this, this, and this? Or were you like, what was that process like?
Yeah, because I would say try everything. Like, most people are afraid to try everything and coming outside your comfort zone. I tried every single door. Some doors I like, but I don't love. I only want to do what I love. When you do what you love, you don't have to go chasing success. It comes chasing you. So when you're chasing success, and that means it's running away from you, because it's like a person, like you're chasing like a girl on a date or a wife or a husband. If you're chasing after them, they don't want you. It's not your call. And it's basically what it's doing is saying, hey, I'm not for you. Quit trying to come after me. Quit harassing me. I'm not married to you. You're not the one. There's somebody else that's supposed to come get me. And so when I found that is I tried everything. And there's some things that I do extremely well, like social media marketing. I do that very, very well. I had to understand that I'm more of a visionary. I do really good with, so as a visionary, I can start things really well. Very, very well. I can close a deal, all that. I'm not more of the manager style. I'm not the person that's going to sit there and respond to the comments though, but I'll come up with the ideas. I'll meet the CEO. I'll meet the director of the marketing department. I'm really, really good with closing a deal. Hey, how you doing? Let's go. Oh, all right. So then we can do this. We can do that. I can put it all together, but then there's a person that I need to pass the baton to. And that's why I'm the team. I needed a team. The team is supposed to manage the dream. I'm just supposed to create it. There's somebody else that's supposed to manage it. And you have to know the difference between the two. Some people are good. Their calling is to be able to run and manage the day-to-day operations. You need that person. So everyone talks about entrepreneurship, but they never talk about entrepreneurship, which is basically like you can be the creator or the manager that keeps and sustaining that business. And that person is just as important as the person that started it. And so everyone's like entrepreneur, and I'm supposed to be the one that started it. Maybe that's the dream. It's running away from you. It's not ever working because you were supposed to partner with somebody that is a creator that gets the job done. They're a good salesman. They're a good demonstrator. They get people to come in, and then you take it from there, and then you complete it out. But people are always thinking about entrepreneurship as I have to be the person that starts it. I have to be the person that finishes it. an assembly line still works. It's the best way to build a car, through an assembly line. All right. So that is what I found. I tried everything. And once again, those are the three different boxes. If anybody else that's listening, that's in similar style, I'm giving this away for free. There's three things that you should be doing if you're a motivational speaker or influencer or whatever. You need to be, number one, you need to be a demonstrator. You need to be a demonstrator. You, the person, the personal brand. You are a brand, but you're an entity. So that's distribution. That's voice. It's community voice. It's basically what they call it in professional terms. That's your podcast. That is your books, your t-shirts. That is your text blast. That is your YouTube page. That is your social media. That is you speaking. So that's distribution. That's you as an individual being a testimony and the demonstrator of what you can provide and offer to the world, and be a demonstrator that if I told you that, if you see that I did it for myself, you know I could do it for you. So that's number one. Second thing is virtual. You need a passive income. Virtual, one-on-one, I can only talk to so many people, and it's very draining. Now, it's good to go through the process so you can understand how it works, but I can have 1 million people give me $25 a month, like Netflix. I can never talk to 1 million people in my life one-on-one. So I can bring in $25 million per month from an online course that I recorded one time. All right. So every time I speak, every time they see me on YouTube, every time they see my podcast, I'm leading them ultimately to a passive income brand that says, if you're listening to me, you're ready to buy from me. Say that again. If you're listening to me, that means you're ready to buy from me. You're ready to purchase. You're listening because you either want to be me, you aspire to be me, or there's some attributes that I connect with you on that you aspire to have, or maybe I connected with you from a trauma-based point of view and you want to know how to get unstuck. So how do you get unstuck? You can take this online course. So if I meet 1 million people that want to be me, want to talk to me, they can go through the online course, $25 a month. I'm just giving an example. And that brings in $25 million a month on a video that I recorded once. Help 1 million people. And then the last piece is, like I said, an agency. So the agency work is just simply like a group of people coming together. That's more of a us do it for you type of thing. So there's me, the individual, the demonstrator, the voice, the glitz and the glamour, all that stuff. There's the do it yourself passive income piece and portion. That's online courses. Very, 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 very powerful when it comes to impact and reach and distribution. And then the last piece is an agency that does it for you. And that agency, we currently manage the social media accounts for several prestigious entities. We work with projects like Walgreens, banks. There's a company called Andy Seasoning that's really, really big that we work with too as well. Mental health board. I mean, there's so many different places that we're working with, school districts, and we handle their social media accounts. And so what does that do? That's just a connecting point, because now I get a chance to impact the community from a macro level, because these are organizations that have much bigger teams than what I have. And I can say, oh, well, you want to get inside the schools, and the schools need sponsorships, and this person is looking for a speak. I could literally use my agency to be able to connect the dots to make the community at large work together, because we're all looking for help, but they might not know each other. They might not know each other. So that's pretty much the business model that we have. I would suggest that anybody out there, I'm giving away free game on that, to use that same business model. There is nothing really outside of that. I would definitely be looking at that business model and just put yourself in those three things and figure out how to make that work.
How long does a person typically work if they want to go the agency route, if they wanted to have the do it yourself or do it for you model? Typically, how long, what's your, I guess, average time you work with a particular client? Say if it's on like an individual basis. I'm actually thinking about myself. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So here's some more free game. Anybody that's listening. When I first started off, this is what my therapist actually helped me with. That's why I said the therapist, it's almost like if you go to college too early, you really just don't remember anything. But I remember I had took some community college classes, and I had a sales class and a speaking class, and I was actually in my business. So when my professor said something, it resonated with me more than just, I got to just get this grade. It applied to me now. My therapist she showed me how to set up boundaries. And I kept having these certain clients that I would work with. They would come to me out of desperation. They would always want Koran Bolden to turn water into wine, and they would give me their last. I didn't know that they would give me their last dollars. So when you get a certain type of client at the beginning, I'm just taking it just to make money. But sometimes I heard a great quote that said, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. When people are desperate and they give you their last 1,000, 2,000, 3, 4, 5,000, $10,000, it's their last dollars. That particular type of client, from my personal experience, is a client that you can never please or satisfy because they're coming out of desperation. They want to take a low risk and get high gains. Like, they believe that you're the person that's a low risk because of your reputation and your demonstration. But of course, I cannot turn water into wine. Even though most of my projects, they will work, sometimes it might not work this month. It might work next month or the following month. So what I did was I kept getting these one-off clients that would give me their last, like, I'm giving you my bill money for next month. Those are not the type of clients that I want to deal with. Because you know what? If this project does not work in the time that you think it should work, you're going to blame me and you're going to blast me. So what I decided to do boundary-wise, now I have a survey that asks, what type of business are you? Are you a startup? Do you have at least $25,000 per month to be able to put into a marketing campaign? Do you have at least 4 months that you can be willing to let us help you get the desired results? We might get it in a week. We might get it in 5 days like we did with Annie Malone, but I can't make $75,000 just magically appear every time. I mean, you would think that, but because my brand, the demonstration, remember the demonstrator of me is so powerful, they believe that I can do this every single time in 5 days. If I put in 5,000 or $1,000, that Koran's going to get me this. That is not the truth. But no matter, even if it's in the contract or the paperwork, they don't care. They're ready for me to take 1,000 and turn it into this. And if I could do that, I would be the richest man on earth. But this is what I found out. When you have a personal brand, people believe in the brand more than they believe in themselves and their ability to get there, right? So they start thinking that you could turn it into water into wine because of what you've done. That's just not true. So what I've done is, boundary wise, thank you, therapist. She told me to put a boundary. These are the type of people that I work with. If you're not this type of client, I'm sorry, but we do not match. Somebody else might be able to turn water into wine for you, but to be honest, not so much. We don't control that thing in business. It's all a risk. It's all a gamble. And so now I only take clients at this current moment that are willing to do at least 4 months with me at my lowest package. If not, I'm sorry. You're operating out of desperation, and there's almost nothing you can do other than to hit the exact target or over and beyond that target. And if not, they're going to be upset with you because they're giving you their last. And so I would personally say, if there's anybody out there that wants to do the agency work, make sure that you have a boundary line of the type of clients that you want to work with, because working with the client that is giving you their last will not work out. They're already crumbling anyway. If this is your last, you're not even stable enough to do the business. There's some people like myself. I don't have a problem with giving my last because I believe that it's going to take. I have the 1% mentality. I have the 1% mindset. I know that if I give my last, I'm investing in myself. I'm not investing in a result. The result is me, my mindset, getting to the next level. But the 99% of people in the world, if they give you their last, they're looking for an outward manifestation. They're not looking for the inward manifestation. These are the people that don't go to conferences because there's nothing tangible to touch. I didn't get anything out of this coaching. I didn't get anything out of this development. I didn't get anything out of this website. They want tangible things, tangible money things. And that's just not the way the world works. I will spend $5,000 to go to a conference. And even if I got one idea out of the 2-day conference, one person, just 10 seconds, that 10 seconds can change the paradigm shift in my mind to make me millions of dollars. So that's just the mindset that I have. And so I would say, once again, if you have an agency, it's cool to get the money and all that, but just make sure that when you're dealing with a client, that you have a certain type of client. If you can say yes to every person that walks in your door, I would be highly concerned for you and your mental mindset, because you just can't say yes to everybody. Like, That's not a real business model. There's a certain type of person that you want to work with, certain type of person that wants to work with you where it's a synergy there. And that synergy has to be there, and that trust has to be there in order for the project to even work in its own in and of itself. So that's what I would say, is that if you have an agency, make sure that you know exactly the type of client that you want to work with, because those one-off type of, oh, just give me 2,500, just give me 1,000, give me $500. Every month you're going to have to go out and get new work. With a retainer, at least 4 months, we're working on some real work, and we get a chance to take that business and grow some real arms and some real legs to it, to the point where we can get a desired, a better chance of hitting the desired result that you want. And that takes at least 3 to 4 months for sure.
No, I think that's definitely powerful. And I think that's one of the things I ran up against when I first started in business and entrepreneurship. I was building websites back in 2015 or 16. And I just had a bunch of one-off clients, and eventually I just got burnt out from finding these clients. Like, I did this for a year, and I was like, yo, I don't even want to pitch. I didn't want to do anything. And it kind of took me down. Again, it was a blessing. It took me down a path to where, you know, I started to find myself invest in me. And again, ended up being at a conference, you know, that you were at, and that's how we connected and stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's, you know, that investment piece is huge, investing in yourself, because again, I do believe that it does come back, and it does come around twofold. And I think that's extremely, extremely important. And you've just been able to see that. So, man, you've been able to drop a lot of gems, free gems as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all good. Anything for you, Mike, man. You know, I really believe in you, bro. Like, for the moment that we met in New York, man, it's just been a great journey to be able to see how much you've grown, bro. You're in a total different lane, bro. You got contractors over there building your $1 million establishment. I'm proud of you, bro. I'm proud of you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. You know, it's definitely perspective, because I definitely was in a place where I was like, man, I felt a little lost trying to figure out like what's next, what the moves are. You know, and I still have a little bit of that, you know, if I'm being frank. And I decided to just take a step back away from everything, you know, take a step back away from distractions, focus on, you know, connecting with people like you, doing the podcast, focusing on me, and seeing where things kind of play. Because you know, if I'm looking at a 3-year projection, a 5-year projection, what do I want it to look like? And I realized, like, man, I don't know. But what I do know is I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy, you know, getting mentored, you know, catching gems, figuring out stories. So I'm going to take that and see where it takes me. Right. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to work with some amazing kids. Like you said, I've gotten a few contracts from the city, which has been great as well. But you know, I appreciate it. But, you know, I'm hopeful, man. I'm hopeful that, you know, my journey takes me to a place that, you know, elevates me to, you know, to new heights and different heights. So, you know, again, I much appreciate it. Definitely.
Yeah, no, anytime, bro. Anytime you need me, let me know, man. I just want to really kind of close out, if I may. Hey, listen, anybody that's listening right now, just really want to just encourage you with my new mission that's really important to me, particularly if you're an African-American male. I'm not pushing anybody out, but anybody, but particularly for the African-American male demographic. Hey, there's nothing wrong with you getting therapy. You don't even have to tell anybody that you're going. This doesn't have to be a big announcement or anything like that. But I know people that have literally taken their own life, and everything looked like they were fine, but nobody knew what was going on internally and at home. And I know what it feels like to be depressed, laying in your bed, not being able to get up, and everybody doesn't have a support group around them. And then the stigma, the shame, the fear of what people will say if they find out that you're going to therapy. And then in our culture, they call it, you're crazy, or you're nutso, or whatever the case. No, you're not. You're nutso if you're hurting and you got a stab in your mind and your body and soul, and you just allow yourself to bleed in silence every day and put a smile on your face. That's what's crazy. And so I want to tell you that it's okay to not be okay, but I also want to tell you that it's not okay to just remain okay. That's the part. If you are just okay, I'm not okay with that. It's okay for you to be just okay, but it's not okay for you to remain okay. And if you're listening right now when you need some help, please reach out to myself. Please tell somebody, get an accountability partner, somebody that you trust. that won't judge you. And if there's somebody that you don't judge, there's plenty of numbers and hotlines out there that you can talk to somebody anonymously. But I'd rather be able to have this message and give you this message today, and hopefully it'll save your life, than for you to lose everything that you have, including your business, including your job, because you refuse to just get a friend or accountability person. And I know how hard it is, but that stigma will be gone. I'm marking it today. What's today? August the 31st, 2021. I believe in the next 5 to 10 years that we will no longer be having a conversation about mental health being stigma in the African-American community, particularly with men. But in the next 10 years, it will be like the common cold. You'll be able to say, hey, man, I got a mental health thing kind of going on. I need a break. And nobody will say anything like, just go, whether you need to go to the store, go to Walgreens. We're going to eradicate this stigma. And so if you're listening, reach out, get some help. I'm going through the same thing with you. And the minute that I came out and talked about it, the support was tremendous and phenomenal. And nobody has really tried to make me feel bad, except for, of course, you know, you're going to have a few other people to tell you like, oh, you get up, you're playing the sympathy role. You're playing the victim mentality. You'll hear that. But I want to let you know that those are the people that have caused the stigma. There's nothing wrong with you're not playing victim because you can't get up. But I want to let you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like I've never felt this great in my life. I thought I was happy. That was borderline. And I'm only in 12 sessions. So I'm going to keep going. You want to get involved, make sure you hit me up online, social media, Koran Bolden. That's Koran Bolden, Bolden. So Koran, Koran, last name Bolden, Bolden on all social media platforms.
Oh man, you know, I usually ended off was like, yo, where can people find you? But you know, we
on the same page.
Yeah,
I heard twice, man. Yeah. I already knew where you were going.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I think that this interview has been so powerful for me, and I'm sure it'll be so powerful for others. I think it's just, I think both of us, but definitely you just kind of stepping into your power, stepping into your vulnerability, and just letting it be known, like, yo, it's okay. I think we play, we're in a space that people require us to be good because we make others feel good, right? We motivate others and we inspire others and we push others. So it never occurs like, man, maybe I'm not okay, right? And we have to constantly play this role of being okay because we have others that's depending on us for that. And sometimes we don't even realize, like, man, like I need to do a self check to see what's happening. I can't, the common saying, I can't fill your cup if mine is empty. And, a lot of times as motivational speakers, as presenters, as demonstrators, sometimes we pull from an empty cup because, again, we have to, right? Or because people are depending on us because it's needed or whatever that looks like. So, you taking a step back, this pandemic happening, kind of forcing it a little bit. Because I'm not sure if you started therapy prior to the pandemic.
No, I didn't. No, it got to a point where I couldn't take it any longer. Like, it was really bad. Like, one day when I go through all my therapy and all that, I'll tell people how bad it got, but it was bad. Like, that's why I'm glad that I'm here to be able to tell the story. There's people like literally and that's why I'm so passionate about it. There's people are dealing with this in ways you never know. And as a matter of fact, the higher you up, everybody thinks you got it together. There's a lot of professionals in my inbox, politicians, entrepreneurs. This is no joke. This is not mental health, anxiety, depression. This is not just for drug addicts and drug users and alcohol, people that are alcohol abuse. No way at all. No way at all. I'm literally talking about the biggest politician in your city, the biggest business owner in your city, the biggest restaurant owner in your city, the biggest influencer that got blue check on their social media page. Like, I know these people behind closed doors. And when I start talking about mental health, they're like, for real, I feel like that too, help. But they don't need, you talk about a pandemic, like there's another silent pandemic that's been going on for a very long time. And that's mental health. We can no longer avoid this. This is something that people are suffering in silence and they don't even know it. I didn't even know I was that traumatized because I had the success. And one quick thing that my therapist said, she said, you know what? It's amazing. What's amazing about you, Koran, is the fact that you were able to get this high. You lost your brother at gun violence at the age of 8. You then formed, that was abandonment. That's considered abandonment too. So majority of people have seen someone get taken from them. That is also considered abandonment. Abandonment is not just somebody leaving you, like your father making a choice to not be in your life. Abandonment is also something being stolen from you. So you got abandonment issues. You then at the age of 8, while your brain was forming, you then calculated that in your head and built around the nucleus of every decision that you make is built around this, the person that you love the most and your dad not being around. The fact that you were able to overcome and stand up and get to where you are with all this baggage and turmoil and trauma on you is mind blowing. You are chosen, but you will not reach the height of what you are supposed to hit until you get that baggage off of you. She said, if you went this high with 1,000-pound weights tied to each leg, when we get these weights cut off you, you will make one of the greatest impacts the world has ever seen. And I believe her. I'm crazy enough to believe her in real life. Yeah. And talk about being crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy enough to believe her. And it's time to talk about mental health. So I would suggest once again, anybody that even if there's nothing wrong, you don't wait for your car to start, the engine start to ticking before you get an oil change. It's called maintenance. And so if we're maintaining a car that will perish away within 10 years and get old, why are we not spending that mental maintenance? It's just a mental maintenance. Don't even go because there's something wrong. Go because that's the thing that you're supposed to do, like washing up and brushing your teeth every day. Get a therapist. It's not a if conversation. You need a therapist. It's not, is there something wrong? No, get a therapist it's like a life coach, basically. And even better, because she understands the mental things. Maybe it goes deeper. Maybe anxiety runs in your family. Like that's something, or depression or schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever. Some people don't even, there's so many different things that could affect you internally that's just in your DNA, and you didn't even ask for that. But if you just, there's nothing wrong, I just keep getting into it with people, I keep taking this on, and then you don't have boundaries. I'm a type of person, I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know how to tell people no.
Me neither.
I will tell you no. I'm still working on it. 90% of the time, now I would tell somebody no. Back in the day, I would not tell nobody no. But she showed me when you don't tell people no and you don't have the ability, when you don't tell people no, that's hurting you. You're gonna crash. You're gonna crumble. And the reason that I didn't tell people no, I found out why, is because the abandonment issue. I was afraid people would leave me, so I try to overcompensate when people come into my life. If I really like them, I'll do anything. I'll offer things to them so that they can stay around me. Sometimes even, or if they try to, I believe that person is going to leave me. So to protect myself from them leaving me, I never say no. But now, since I know this, I'm creating a circle or energy. Everybody go. Whoever's not here for me and that loves me without the things that I can provide them, leave now, so to make room for the new people. So all the new people, I don't have to worry about them leaving me because they're there for me, not what I can offer for them. So these, once again, just that nugget right there alone is tremendous. That was worth, if I didn't learn anything but that, it was worth it to me. So yeah, man, I feel good, bro.
No, that's good. Before we leave, I do want to say, because I think it's interesting that you said that, especially the abandonment piece. One of the things that I learned, because I have a problem with like saying no, and as well, and for whatever reason, it can be anybody, and not to say I dwell on this for a long time, but when people don't like me, like it makes me want, like, damn, why don't you like me? Like I'm a cool dude, right? And it could be someone that I just met, right? Yep. And then something happens and it starts to go in my brain, like, what's happening? And in that I realized that I said, man, I like being liked. I couldn't figure that out. And I also, again, like you, I couldn't say no to people. Like I did stuff sometimes at the detriment of myself, right? Yep. It could have been the abandonment. And another thing I realized was I didn't like to you know, again, the no, I didn't want to hurt people, right? So even when I was in like prior relationships, like I would do stuff to make sure that like they broke up with me because I didn't want to do that to them, right? Because
Right.
I saw, like, for example, like what it did like to my mom and my dad. Like, so I was one, like I had both parents, but at 13, they got divorced. Right. So I went from like, you know, hey mom, can I have this? No, dad, can I have this shirt, to like being the man of the house like this. Right. It
Yeah.
happened like this. And I saw the pain and the craziness that happened. And I think because of that, and again, this was through self-reflection. So I guess maybe I should go to therapy because I can actually learn more. But through that, I realized that I never wanted to like break off relationships that should have broken off because I saw what it did to my mom when it happened. Right. That was like my first aha through self-reflection. The second thing is I like being liked. Right. So I, even at the detriment of me, I always said, all right, cool. Right. Yeah, I'll take you here. I'll do this. You know, even if I didn't want to or whatever, because I didn't like when people didn't like me or felt some kind of way. So I always, again, overcompensated with that. And again, this is through a lot of self-reflection and stuff that I've had to do on my own. And, you know, some things that I've been going through more recently, right? Like I've had, you know, the space where I was just like the plethora of emotions up and down, which happened recently. That's never happened to me before.
Yes.
So, you know, it's definitely something that I've started looking at. So again, I appreciate you just pushing that, sharing that, because there is a space where I am learning, not only learning, but I think one of my superpowers is like I'm able to self-reflect really well, right? It may take a while, you know, it could take a couple days, weeks, months, but I'm able to sit back and say, okay, this is what it is. What I haven't figured out is, now that I know what this is, like what are the tools, the steps, so I can, you know, kind of shake it off or break it off. So like I can see it, like I can see the issue, I can see the problem, I know what it came from, where it stemmed from, what it looked like, but I just know it, right? It's not something where like I know it and now, all right, these are the tools. Like I have no idea what that looks like for me, and I think that will probably be my next step.
Man, and thanks again for sharing that story. I think that, you know, to be honest, until I got into this space, as I've been knowing you for a while, we've never had a conversation about certain things, right? And it's like, I don't think I had a conversation like this with any Black man all the way back, like up until the time of me actually starting to be more transparent about it. Now, once I start being transparent about it, or someone else like you might start off being transparent, I feel more like I could be transparent, and that's what eradicates the stigma. That what your therapist does is just gives you some tools to be able to dig yourself out of that hole, because to be able to see a family be ripped apart does cause an impact on you. And what we do is our brains grow around that traumatic impact, so we can never, it's there to protect us. And so some of the actions that we do, they're there only to protect us, but that protection is literally destroying you. Fight or flight. Like instead of me fighting towards that, I'd rather run from that. And like I said, like you're saying, like, not, you know, the people pleasing and all that stuff. I went through all of that, and now I had to set up boundaries around me. So I went and got an office space. I make sure that nobody, I stay in a, you know, a very, very nice building, and I would have people come on our 8th floor and all that. And that's where everybody would come. And I'm like, no, nobody could come to my house. You got to meet me between these hours again. Like I used to have these clients, the ones that used to, you know, like I said, want me to turn water into wine. They calling me 12 o'clock at midnight and I'm answering the phone. Like, no, I'm not answering the phone. This is my business hours. If you're disrespecting my business hours, you're disrespecting me. You don't have any boundaries. And so I just got so strong in the last 12 weeks, man. I eradicate this. Like I know that for a fact. We're going to get ready to eradicate this stigma. And it's something that needs to be done, particularly for our young Black boys, young Black men. If we have to ask, if we have to ask, is there such thing as mental thing? Like, is it really affecting us? Yes. African American men are the only group of people that kill each other at an alarming rate. Young boys, 15, 16, 13 years old, are killing each other. Do you know what type of mind state it takes in order to take the life of someone else? That's not just a choice. That's a mental health issue. to take and disregard human life like it's nothing at all is a mental health issue. And it's because of trauma that was not treated. And so we as leaders must start to do therapy, take therapy seriously, not just for ourselves, but so that we can break the generational curse that's been plaguing the African American community, particularly with our young boys. We need to start to let them know it's okay to cry if you need to cry. I'm not saying cry all out in front of everybody or nothing like that, but it's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to love someone. It's okay to have maybe you have hatred in your heart, or maybe you have jealousy in your heart or envy or whatever. We never know where they came from, but I want you to know that those emotions are okay. What's not okay is when you leave them bottled up and somebody tells you that you're not supposed to have them and you get frustrated because you're having them. And we need to seriously get on this therapy thing. And I believe that if we do it and we catch it now, that those crime rates and a lot of those homicide, suicide rates, they'll go down. But it all starts with therapy. And the second thing I would say is wealth. You feel good when you got money in your pocket. So entrepreneurship is just one of those cool ways where you feel like you've been to prison, or maybe you feel like working at a job, you're more of a visionary. I'm not more of a manager. I'm not the person. You got to know what your style is. If you're asking everybody to get a job, some people are visionaries and creators. They cannot work a regular job. That's not what they called to do. They're called to be an entrepreneur and like creators. And so once we get people in the rightful places and we focus on generational wealth and we focus on generational wealth and we focus on mental health and wellness, I believe just those two things alone could very much impact the African American community and race, and I believe that we will do great. So, man, I like that this is being documented. Once again, this is being documented, and I believe that we'll get the numbers and the results to stand true. And man, I appreciate you sharing the story, man. I got other stories, man, and I would love to be able to have you a part of any campaign that I got going on, and vice versa, man. If there's anything I could do to help you, Mike, man, you the truth, bro. You're a dope speaker too, by the way.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we definitely got to connect, figure out, more ways to collaborate.
Let's do it.
But I definitely appreciate you, hopping on, showing love to the podcast again, man. Check Koran Bolden out. He's been one of my mentors for the last few years. A phenomenal, author, speaker, motivational speaker. You're the man. At Koran Bolden, Koran Bolden, Bolden. I'm gonna say it again for the people because I know you did the outro and then we got into some good stuff, right? So hopefully, yes, got into
I'm telling you, that could be. I'm telling you, we've been bottling this stuff in. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's some good stuff. So man, I appreciate it. But I know you did the final word, but any other final words or
No, I think we said it all. Hey, listen though, mental health is big. Don't run from it. I'm with you. Mental health. That's all I want people to know. Go get a therapist. Go get a therapist. Go get a therapist. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's go. Let's get it. Sweet. Bold moves. Make a bold moves. Do it when you're afraid. I'm excited.
Love it. Of course, man. I appreciate you guys. The 1% Mindset Podcast. Love you. Peace.